let's stay with Chef Curry and the pot boy and how he ended that close game. After watching Team USA in this Olympics and taking into consideration what we do know about their competition, um, my question to you guys, are we finally done with the dream team? How do you feel this team looked in comparison to the dream team? There's been a constant comparison to the 90s. So my question to you guys is this team or the dream team?
Um, Here's what I would say. The dream team, the international competition wasn't up to par at that time. Um, all those guys on the team were Hall of Famers. Even Christian Laettner was a college Hall of Famer. But basically, the international teams needed the dream team to be where they are now, because the dream team served the purpose that they were going to serve, is to globalize the game, right? And make it where guys coming from Serbia, coming from Spain, coming from Yugoslavia, you name it, they can become stars in the league, right? And the reason why I say that is Victor Wembanyama cried when they lost to the United States because he really thought they had a chance to win. And here's what I would say. What I would say is this tournament should serve as, and this is a point I've been driving home for a while. We don't play fundamental basketball. And we've been lucky enough to slap dudes together, give them 2 weeks to practice, and they just find ways to win games. But the reality is, I'm tired of seeing the United States have to come from behind in some of these games, or have to do crazy lineups where these other teams got these no-name dudes that have been playing with each other for years, and you can see the continuity on their team. Whereas, because of the style of play that you have in the NBA, you got guys like Joel Embiid that don't know how to perform. You know, guys like Jason Tatum that don't even get to play. You know, to me, I think that the United States needs to reconsider how they go about USA basketball and start building teams that are more consistent as far as like them playing with each other. Because in reality, if you took LeBron or Steph Curry off this team, the United States might finish with a bronze or a silver. What y'all think? You get what I'm saying? It's like no matter who the coach is, whether it was Coach K, whether it was Steve Kerr, no matter what the situation is, I find that it always comes down to talent and not necessarily skill. And that's bothering me because the world is leaps and bounds ahead of the United States when it comes to skill and basketball IQ. And there was one statistic that bothered me the most. It was the game against Serbia, where they said the United States and Serbia were tied during the Jokic minutes. And once Jokic was off the floor, that's when the United States went on their run. Jokic is playing with who else? It's just him and a bunch of other Serbians. And then you got a team full of all-stars, and y'all can't even dominate the Jokic minutes. So, and mind you, that also translates to the NBA game. Because when Jokic is on the floor, as a matter, you're not even tying at that point. Jokic has probably got his team on a run. So look out for France. Look out for Serbia. These teams are coming for the United States. And given that your best players are probably on their last Olympics, you're not going to see Durant no more. You're not going to see LeBron no more. You're not going to see Curry no more. When you look at the next wave of dudes coming, there's a good chance the United States probably doesn't get the gold medal in 4 years. That worries me.
So I'm going to say, I hope this makes sense. I'm not worried because I don't care. Um, the United States. So I had a conversation with one of my brothers, right? And he said something that was intriguing, but not all the way factual. He said the talent in all of these teams internationally is better than the talent the Dream Team faced, right? And I had a couple points to make to that. So now a lot of these players that the original Dream Team faced were born and lived where they played. A lot of the players that these teams are facing were born there but didn't play there. They played in the United States. They went to college, They just represented their country. So to say that the talent is better is kind of iffy because they're not homegrown and just playing there. They played United States basketball, college, high school, or whatever, however it went. So when the Dream Team was formed, they played players who only played in their country. And for two, they didn't know, the rules were different, and they didn't know what talent really looked like. I remember when the USA played Spain. I don't know what year it was, but the Gasol brothers were there.
Kobe was on that team.
Homegrown, and they were selected from Spain to play in the NBA. It wasn't like they went to college or whatever. So that is a different aspect of just saying that, oh, these teams are better. It's like the Gasol brothers played the United States. Like the United States was been getting their ass bust for a little minute now. Let's not act like this is not something new. They've been getting their ass bust for a minute because the players that were born in those countries, even though they played college basketball or whatever, they went and represented their country. So now it's like, oh, I ain't got to play for the United States because I wasn't born there. So now it looks like the talent is better. So we don't know. So like Jokic is one of those people, and Doncic, Luka is one of those people. Wembanyama is one of those people. Like they were born, they played there, they got drafted to the NBA from there. Most of the players that played a lot of the players that played that were NBA players were just born in that country. They didn't play there over the years. Like they weren't young professionals. Like you got RJ, you got Jamal Murray, you got Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, you got Wiggins, you got Bogdanovich might be one of them. He's one of those, one of the people that played there, right?
Yeah.
Fournier is another one.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of the NBA players that are playing for these teams, international teams, were not like homegrown, like they weren't. They played college basketball and some high school basketball in the United States. Competition is not about the competition because the team had to go against what they had to go against, but at the same time, they weren't scouted in the they weren't scouted internationally. They weren't scouting internationally. You know what I mean? The teams that could have get the USA team, the Dream Team that was put together, was really so stacked that you really can't compare another team to them.
Mm-hmm.
And people try to compare another team to them because they want to do a comparison. That team was so stacked. They actually had the best players in the league, minus Isaiah Thomas.
Right.
They had the best players in the league, period. There's no disputing,
Yeah.
They had the best players in the league playing. So why did
And they were all top 50 too.
They would no before they came out with the top 50. These are the top players.
Yeah.
Period. These are the top players. Period. Defensively, offensively, rebounding, assisting. These are the top players, minus Isaiah Thomas. There's no way you can compare any other team. You know why I say this? Because a lot of these teams don't have they're made up of who they consider the top players.
What's popularity? So to tie in both your points, I want to tie in both your points because I actually agree with you to both of y'all to a specific extent. Ferg, I agree with you in regards to fundamentally why we're going to end up losing, because to E's point, a lot of international players not only have been playing with these teams in their off seasons, NBA or whatever the case may be, they go and support their teams and plays overseas, but they are fundamentally sound. International basketball is fundamentally sound. Then you got the guys that's coming here and getting NBA experience. To E's point, even taking a further deeper dive to Easy's point, look at South Sudan. Look at the Sudan team, right? When you look at the Sudan team, these guys, it's the first time even in the Olympics, and they were giving people fits.
Yeah.
Just playing together. There was one guy that has played in the NBA, one guy on that team, and he's a bench warmer. Right? So the fundamental aspect of it, you're right. If we didn't have LeBron, we didn't have Steph, if we didn't have the greatest of the great in the NBA, that we lose. I totally believe we lose. And there's another reason why people don't understand why Tatum didn't get a lot of minutes. To your point, Berg, to your point, because guys like a Derek White and a Drew Holiday were needed. They were needed more than a Jason Tatum and his style of play.
Yep.
Okay, we needed high IQ. You needed defense on the ball. You need pure shooting. I mean, listen, I could go on and on. Embiid won't be on the team next time. To me, Embiid was trash. So I don't think Embiid will even be on the team next time. But the bottom line is the players that played, I think, played when they should have played.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't need Halliburton. He was just a backup just in case. But this is also why I think the Dream Team would not have struggled versus even this competition, because Joker would have had problems with Patrick, David Robinson, the bigs who actually know how to defend, right? As good as Joker is, he would have had problems with the bigs we had on that Dream Team. And that Dream Team is more fundamentally sound, even though they were the best players of that time. So people like to point out Berg and Barkley and some of these guys being at the end of their careers, but even those guys at the end of their careers were more fundamentally sound than these guys, and I think we wouldn't have struggled with some of these teams.
But so I'm gonna say something, because I heard the uproar that has been about Tatum. The uproar has been about Tatum, and I'm gonna say this. I did my research, but I'm not gonna say names because people are gonna do minute comparisons and all of this nonsense, which I don't have time for. There's always been a player or two or three that didn't get any minutes playing on the USA squad.
Yep.
Out of all of the players, Tatum is the least of them. Besides Halliburton, because he shouldn't even been on it.
He wasn't going to play regardless.
He wasn't going to play regardless. Besides Halliburton, Tatum is the least of them. The reason that people are trying to make it an uproar is because I feel it's a deflection and a distraction. Tatum, would Tatum have been on the team opposite of another player there are players that like. Halliburton shouldn't have been there over De'Aaron Fox, but nobody talks about that, right?
I got another one for you. On Paul George's podcast, he explained how Grant Hill.
How does he get over Paul George? How does he get over Paul George?
Listen, that's exactly why I said that, because Steve Kerr had asked Paul George if he wanted to play, and he said, "Yeah, I'm down to play." And then Grant Hill did not select Paul George
because Grant Hill went for popularity.
Yep.
Over everything, and that's Grant Hill's fault. And I'm very disappointed at Grant Hill for his selection. But at the same time, people talk about, oh, how does a first team? I'm like, listen, nigga. If you look at the dream team, there's like 3 niggas that didn't play that was first team, and they if you look at the Redeem team, it happens on every team. They're making it a spectacle for Tatum because they want to push the narrative that Tatum's the next big thing. But the truth of the matter is, I don't want to hear that shit. Like niggas don't play on the Olympic team all the fucking time.
And you know what else? Given the way, because see, this is what a lot of people don't see. The way Boston plays defense, right? They use Derek White and Jaylen Brown to mask Jason Tatum's defensive deficiencies.
And I wasn't even gonna go there, Ferg.
Oh no.
But you're right.
I'm one of the few people that didn't give a shit that Jason Tatum didn't play. And mind you, I still think Paul George should have been on there over Jason Tatum.
Listen,
but if
you replace Kawhi Leonard. Let me tell you something. You replace Kawhi Leonard with Derek White. That just shows you your thinking.
You wanted defense.
But was Derek White getting the minutes?
No. Here's what it was. Here's
the thing. You gotta. I'm gonna say this: it's coach and player. When it comes to Olympics, it's really coach and player. It's not like the NBA. How does Derek White fit with Steve Kerr? He doesn't. If Jaylen Brown was there, he fits.
Yeah.
That's the difference. If Paul George is there, he fits. Derek White doesn't fit into what Steve Kerr wants to do. So why would Grant Hill put him there?
Yeah. But see, this is the thing that a lot of people don't know. There's politics behind the scenes on the Olympic teams as far as Adidas and Nike. But what makes me more upset about it is it's literally the AAU shit all over again. That's what it is. It's the AAU shit that's permeating through the USA basketball. Because when you factor in why Tatum didn't play, and if you look at what they did with Derek White and don't forget, I don't think if you look at Anthony Edwards and Jason Tatum, when I'm looking at the highlights on Anthony Edwards didn't really know what he was supposed to do on offense, but defensively, he was valuable. He was valuable defensively. And I think that what Steve Kerr did, given that he lost Kawhi and they didn't have Paul George, he went with defensive versatility because it's like, yo, I got KD coming off the bench. I got LeBron on the court. Where am I really going to play Jason Tatum? Right? And then on top of that, with the U.S. team, you got too many guys that need the ball to function in an isolated offense.
And Jason Tatum's one of those guys.
Exactly. So you need guys.
Devin Booker, Anthony Edwards, they don't need the ball.
Exactly. And I think that the U.S. would have been easier to defend if you gave Jason Tatum more minutes because of his style of play. And Jason
Tatum would have got. See, people keep thinking that Jason Tatum wouldn't have got exposed. And
He
I
would've.
think Steve Kerr,
He would have.
I think Steve Kerr protected him a lot
I agree with you.
because the way that the international rules go, bro, you're not getting that. You don't have handle. Can you dribble? Yes, we all can dribble. You don't have handle. That's like in the international game, they could be physical with you.
Facts.
You're done. You're done. But you know what everybody keeps saying? Look at the game that he played, bro.
It was a blowout. That don't count.
That
was a
doesn't
flaw.
count. It's like
Yeah.
I saw something on social media, which is why I had to shut my shit down. Gilbert Arenas, and I know he does the shit for clickbait because Gilbert Arenas is that type of dude.
Yeah, he be saying mad.
He was like, oh, Jason Tatum averaged 26 points in the finals. This was his words.
Right.
Jaylen Brown averaged 20. So I said, how can Jason Tatum average 26 points when he had, out of 5 games, 5 or 6 games, I think it was 5 games, he had a 30-point game and a 20-something point game. I said, that math doesn't make sense to me. 26 points when every other game he had 16, 18. He didn't have 20 points. So I said, wow, they pushing for this kid to be something that he's not. Because if you're going to say he averaged 26 and they gave Jaylen Brown the MVP because they wanted to give him MVP over Tatum because Tatum had 2 good games. The rest of his games weren't good.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like they want him to be that guy because they're looking, let's be honest, they're looking for somebody. Morant, they had Morant, he got in all that trouble. They got Anthony Edwards, he's trying to bring the old NBA back. They don't want that.
No.
You know what I mean? So it's like, who are we looking for? The nigga that got the white baby. Let's go to him. No, I'm being honest. Like the nigga that got the white baby, let's go to him. He ain't got no tattoos. He's on Boston. Let's go to him. But they keep trying to push this kid that isn't what you want him to be. Just let him be what he is.
Well, we got into a little too far off on Jason Tatum. We're supposed to be talking. Let's stick to the Olympics. But the reality is this.
Sorry, you're right.
The reality is this, that I think people made it more difficult than it had to be. Derek White, let's look at the point guards. Let's just simply look at the point guards. It was Drew Holiday, Tyrese Halliburton. Who else was the other? And Steph Curry. We know everybody and their mother knows Steph Curry is not a defensive point guard, right? You put Drew Holiday on the best point guard, and you brought another point guard that could defend in Derek White when Kawhi went down, okay? Or when they decided to send Kawhi home, however it went, right? It was as simple as that. You got Kevin Durant, LeBron James. You didn't need Tatum. It's the reality. You didn't need him. But let's say hypothetically LeBron went down.
Then Tatum plays.
Then Tatum plays. You have another. See, this was a balance. No. Back up, B. Back up. You don't have to like the guy to understand the move and make it make sense. Anthony Edwards is not Jason Tatum. They've been pushing Jason Tatum for a minute. And Jason Tatum's a champion, right? Anthony Edwards really just made a name for himself this past season amongst a lot of people who don't know, right? So what I'm saying is that star power, they tried to find a balance. And I'll say they, meaning if Grant Hill's the one pulling the strings, he tried to find a balance with what the team needed and who people wanted to see, right? Right. So like Embiid is not the best guy, but he's entertaining, right? We know he can play, but he's also entertaining. Anthony Edwards plays 2 sides of the ball. Most of the people on that USA team is 2-way players. Most of them. That's like people question why Bam was there because he's a 2-way player. He's fundamentally sound. Okay, Anthony Edwards. That's not Anthony Edwards. Anthony Davis, fundamentally sound 2-way player. There's a reason why the team was built the way it was, and then you add a guy like a Jason Tatum. You know what I'm saying? They could have easily went Jaylen Brown. They could have easily went Jaylen Brown instead of Tatum.
Yeah,
Easily. But I think Jalen ain't even want to come. I think Jalen's enjoying being the pimp, walking around with the shorties, and now he like, yeah, I'm champion, got my MVP. Let Tatum have that. You know what I'm saying? Let Tatum get the gold or whatever the case may be. But it was so simple. They needed another defensive point guard. If all you had was Drew Holiday and Steph Curry, even Halliburton is not a defensive point guard. So they
correct.
needed somebody to guard at the in the backcourt. It was as simple as that. And nobody's sitting here and thinking Derek White is this great player, but he's a defensive guard who can hit the open shot. Let's just make it simple basketball. And that's fundamentally sound. He could hit the open shot and he could defend the other team's point guard. He doesn't turn
Bro,
over the ball.
Do you know who Derek White was for this team? He was their Josh Hart. He was their Josh Hart. The guy that's not going to blow you away with stats, right? But when there's a play to be made, because if you look at his defensive rotations, Jason Tatum is not making those defensive rotations. He's not making them. And what they basically had Derek White playing, he was basically playing free safety on defense. That's basically what he was playing. And when you factor in what Jason Tatum would have brought to the game, if you look at Boston's offense, right? What's the one thing you saw all year with Boston? When those threes didn't fall, they were very beatable. They were very beatable when those threes didn't fall. And that does not translate to FIBA basketball. Number one, it's a 40-minute game, not a 48-minute game. That's one. So you don't have time to go on multiple runs, right? So if you're Jason Tatum and you're used to playing a certain way, it makes sense. And to your point, what they did was they went with a team that could defend, rebound, and run. And if you look at the United States, the way they played, and I'll give them credit, Steve Kerr took a lot of heat, but it was the right move. He played the right people. And in the first game, when people were talking about how you got Kevin Durant not starting, okay, did you see what happened when Kevin Durant came off the bench? He didn't miss a shot and basically took Serbia right out the game. I think that if people are true to themselves and they factor in the way the rest of the world is preparing to beat the United States during FIBA play, you can't build an all-star team that you would build in the NBA. You have to build teams according to the weakness of the other players. So, for example, France had the best front line in the entire Olympics, right?
And still bench Gobert.
But guess what? Right. And guess what? Their guards were shit. They had Frank Ntilikina and Evan Fournier. So what did you saw your guards, right? It's like every game presented a different matchup problem, and you got to give them credit. Eric Spoelstra was an assistant coach. He was there running the defense, right? And Steve Kerr was there for the offense. Listen, anybody who want to be mad, but you can't analyze it from an NBA point of view. You have to analyze it from a FIBA standpoint. The rules are different. The game is different. You need dogs out there. And I'm sorry, Jason Tatum is not a dog. He's not a dog. He's never going to be a dog. He ain't that guy. And it made sense. It made sense that he didn't play. And there wasn't one game where I said to myself, man, and I'm watching the highlights. There was not one game I'm like, if they had Jason Tatum, things would have been different. No, they might have been worse. And that's no shade towards him.
It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. And if you were really looking at the game and what was needed, you understand why Halliburton didn't really see the floor. You understand why Tatum didn't really see the floor. Point blank and period.
I'll give you another example. Not to go too long on the topic, but do you remember 2012 when Carmelo was coming off the bench for the redeeming team.
He said put
told
me
them.
on the bench.
He said, "Put me on the bench because I'm gonna come in and light it up in the second quarter."
Yeah,
And-
it ain't gonna change nothing for me.
Yep.
Start KD. Start
Yep.
KD. Let
Yep.
me come off the bench and let me cook when I get off the bench.
'Cause
And they
guess
had
what?
no answer for Melo.
What other team in the world is bringing Carmelo Anthony off the bench? You get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, Brose. I get what you're saying.
And when you look at what Carmelo did, right? There wasn't one ISO play run for Carmelo. All he was doing was trailing the offense, and by the time the other defense got set, they forgot Melo at the top of the key. Bang, 3-pointer, wide open.
Oh yeah,
bang.
but also he was quick. Even when they gave it to him in the post, he went straight. He went straight into his move. There was
Quick trigger.
quick trigger. He was either pull or penetrate, go straight to the hole, blow by his opponent. Like I'm gonna cook. I'm gonna do it because they can't body me down there. I play with grown ass men all the time. I'm gonna get this bucket. Listen, shout out to USA team. They wanted to make sure this was done and done right, and we won the goal. We did. I appreciate it. Special shout out to LeBron James for winning the MVP. I thought he was great in this Olympics. And I know for a fact we wouldn't have won without him. So shout out to LBJ and his greatness, Chef Curry and his greatness, Tarantula, his greatness, even D Booker, I think was doing his thing out there.
Anthony Davis on defense too.
Exact. Oh yeah, AD.
Yeah.
The whole squad.
Yep.
Shout out to the whole squad.